I don't see where there was any reason for him to step down or go away. I mean, that's just my opinion, because I don't know the circumstances or all the facts about what's been going on, but I just didn't see any reason for him to step away. And if he wants to come back, then let him come back. One on one.
Mac Davis and WWE Hall of Famer Teddy Long with one-on-one right here on Sportskeeda. Hey, Teddy.
Hey, what's going on, Mac? Glad to be back with you again here for another week of who knows what we might be talking about.
Well, I want to kind of delve into a little bit of The Undertaker as we get into this show, but I want to start out by talking about a couple of things. First of all, some business. Again, folks, if you will, go down here. Please subscribe to our channel. It really helps us out with Sportskeeda and with Wrestle Binge, which is our new site. And now if you come to YouTube, you're coming to Wrestle Binge by Sportskeeda, and that's where you'll find our show one-on-one with WWE Hall of Famer Teddy Long and myself, Mac Davis. Also,
and while we're speaking on that, Mac, I just have to do it every week because I notice every week that the numbers are going up. So I just want to say thank you to everybody subscribing. If you haven't, please do. And thank you very much.
Yeah, we certainly appreciate it. And by the way, we have another show that you can tap into. That show is on YouTube as well, and it's called Road Trip After Hours, 30-minute time limit. So look that up. You'll have a lot of fun with that show as well. Teddy, let's talk about some current news before we start talking about Taker. Let's talk about Bushwhacker Luke. Bushwhacker Luke wants back in to the WWE only for one match, the 2023 Royal Rumble.
Well, I love Luke to death, man. Great guy. I can't say anything, but if Luke, if he feels in his heart and soul that he still got it, then I say he still got it too. So I'm with Luke. Give him his one more match.
Now, if he goes in, this is interesting too, because if he goes in, he will become the oldest competitor ever in the Royal Rumble. And I have seen Luke the last couple of years. I've seen him at the International Professional Wrestling Hall of Fame. He and I have been at those shows, and I've had a chance to speak with him, and he's done a couple of shows. He actually can still entertain the fans very well. The fans love it. So I think that it'd be a good move for WWE, and I think Luke would really have a blast doing it.
Well, everybody's, back in time, as soon as you get a certain age, you're labeled as old and you can't do the job anymore. And we don't need that old guy. And Joe, so, but that's just the way of the world. But like I always say, and me and you talk about it all the time, numbers are going to come. We can't stop the numbers. You know what I mean? The main thing is that we're still alive. And just because the numbers are there, you don't have to look like that and you don't have to feel like that. You're old. I feel like you're not old until you're cold. So that's my version of being old. So we're going to move right along here. And like I said, we
let me ask you real quick, though. Have you ever had any dealings with Luke? Have you worked with Luke in the past?
Oh, yeah. God, yes. I worked with him in WCW back when they first started out. I think I'm trying to remember the guy that used to manage him. I can't think of who he was right now, but I worked with him back then. I worked with him with a lot in the WWE. And then since, we've been on a lot of the indie shows and a lot of these recent signings, I've had a chance to be on a lot of those with him. Yeah, I love Luke. Luke is a great guy. He come out when I was running the company out in Texas, SWE. Luke come out and did some stuff for us out there, man. So, Luke is a great guy.
And Luke is one of our viewers. So, hello, Luke. We appreciate you watching. I know he watches us, so it's good to have him here.
And Luke, I'm gonna say hello to you too, because I heard about the story where you're supposed to get the dog and from Phil and those other nuts that you were working with down in Georgia. So I'm sorry you didn't get your dog.
Oh no. Let's see. Rumors have it that Mandy Rose, who was fired last week from WWE for content on her OnlyFans or fans on one of these fan page things where you subscribe and spend money, but she got fired. The word is that she was making, listen to this, Teddy, almost $3,000 a month from just what she was doing on OnlyFans. And I've heard that number was actually much higher, but that's the number.
Well, what was she doing on there? I'd like to know.
Well, I wouldn't mind seeing. If
Yeah.
I'm being honest. I mean, she is a fine-looking woman, but we talked about this the other day. There is a problem when you do that. You're working for a company that has stockholders, and you can't go out and do certain things. You just can't.
Yeah, well, there's certain rules and regulations, and and you have to go by those rules and regulations, especially when you're working for somebody else. You know what I mean? You're not on your own. So I think, a lot of times people just ain't smart. I think she probably knew that she probably needed to reveal that to WWE, before she started. But then she probably also thought, well, if I do that, I may not get hired. So, it's like between a rock and a hard place. So, like I said, hate to see her go. She's a great talent. Maybe somebody else maybe she'll shut that down. We just don't know what'll happen. But $3,000 a month, that's not bad money.
Because I think she was only making $150,000 a year with WWE.
Yeah. Well,
now,
like
that's on the guaranteed contract, I guess, or whatever they have. But
right. Well, like I said, if they fired her, she still got a steady income, so it's not going to hurt her. But I'd really like to see her back in professional wrestling. I think she was doing a great job, and
she was,
and she had some potential there. I could see her moving to the top.
Speaking of money, Sasha Banks' issues with WWE were over money. We now know that she was asking to be paid the same amount as Charlotte and Becky Lynch. I'm surprised, if you want to know the truth, that she wasn't getting paid the same as those two, because to me, she was one of those three. Those three women right there, Sasha Banks, Becky Lynch, and Charlotte, are, to me, the three women of WWE. So why wasn't she making that kind of money, Teddy?
Well, I couldn't answer that question. You know what I mean? I'm not the guy that does the payroll there or what decides on what each talent should make. That's just a hard question. It could be some inside info that we don't even know about, maybe, that was keeping her from getting that kind of money. So I just don't know what to tell you, man. Maybe the guy that was there, Laurinaitis, he might have had something to do with that too. So you just never know.
Yeah, I think it's a shame that she wasn't getting that kind of money. The money that Charlotte and Becky was making were fair amounts of money, and Sasha was just one of those that I think should have been on that list. So I can see where she had an issue when it came to her pay. And Teddy, can you explain how those contracts work in WWE? Is it a contract? Is it a guaranteed money? Or is it just, here's what I'm offering you that you could make, but you're probably going to make more? Is that how it's presented?
Well, I don't know, because now when I was there, I just had a steady contract. I made a certain amount of money every week, and that's what I got. Yep. Sometimes on overseas trips, I got a bonus. WrestleMania, you got a bump in pay, you got a bonus. But like I said, over the years, things have changed there. So the whole process of those contracts might, be totally different from, now than when I was there. So I just can't answer that. I don't know. There may be a new policy, or just, like I said, things have changed there a lot.
Let me ask you something, and I'm going to kind of jump back real quick, and I hate to do this, but we were talking about the fact that Mandy Rose was in trouble for her OnlyFans content. And at one time, WWE was telling their employees or their contract workers that they couldn't have outside income sources like, Twitch channels and things like that they were making money from, even from podcasts. Like you and I, let's say you and I were doing this podcast, you're making a great royalty check off of, but all of a sudden you go to the WWE and they say, no, you can keep that, but you got to give us a part of that money.
Well, that's according to what kind of deal you sign with WWE. You know what I mean? That's what kind of contract they're going to write up for you. I'm sure the talent has a right to say, what they would like to have and what they wouldn't want to have. So that's just hard to say. You know what I mean? They may come to you with an offer, you might like, and they may come to you with an offer that you may refuse. Or then now it's time to maybe you guys can negotiate. But like I said, there are rules and regulations. Certain things, when you go to a public company, a traded company like that, you just can't do. So you just have to go by the rules and regulations.
Let's talk about Hacksaw Jim Duggan. Hacksaw Jim Duggan back in the news. He held an intruder at gunpoint in his house this past Friday. The intruder came in and entered the house, and he says he entered the house because he was being chased by someone else that was going to kill him. and he was trying to get help, and he just eventually found an open door and came to Jim's house. Jim tackled him to the floor and grabbed a gun and held him down at gunpoint until the police got there. And he didn't press charges when it was all said and done. But a scary moment for Jim Duggan.
Yeah, man, I'm telling you, and and the good thing that he's still in good shape there, you know what I mean, and able to defend himself, because he's had a little health problems. He's been sick, but he's coming around now. God has blessed him to kind of get over his sickness and kind of get back to good health. But to know he was in good shape like that and to tackle that guy, somebody that invaded his house, man, he was blessed.
I mean, and he's about, I want to say he's in his 60s, isn't he? He's probably 60. I'm trying to say that. No, it's not in the news story, but I think he's probably around 65 years old or something like that. So, it's, and like you say, after his health issues he's had, he's just coming back from a lot of that. He was just going through treatment not long ago. And here he is having to tackle somebody in his own house and be physical with somebody. So,
well, that's what I just said. Stop worrying about them numbers. There's a guy 65 years old, just tackle a guy right down in his house, and the guy that's had health problems and everything. So, yeah, quit worrying about them numbers.
Now, I heard Jim was a bit of a wild man anyhow. I mean, back in his younger days, he would beat somebody's ass in a heartbeat if he wanted to.
Oh yeah, well, some guys like him, they wouldn't, one of the guys you want to, fool around with. You know what I mean?
Yep.
You always want to do, respect them. They respect you, and just, conduct yourself as a man around them at all times.
Vince McMahon. We talk about him almost every show, it seems like, but he's back in the news again. This happened right after we finished our last show. But Vince McMahon says that he wants back in WWE, and he believes the information he was given and the advice he was given to leave was wrong, and that had he stayed, everything would have blown over and things would have been just fine.
Well, this is Vince's life. He's done this his whole entire life, and to be away, I imagine that takes a lot from him. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
Not being able to involve himself into what he's been involved in all his life. I don't think it was my thing. I don't see where there was any reason for him to step down or go away. I mean, that's just my opinion, because I don't know the circumstances or all the facts about what's been going on, but I just didn't see any reason for him to step away. And if he wants to come back, then let him come back. Let him be Vince. Vince is going to be Vince, I mean, he sometimes he gives good advice, sometimes he gives bad advice, but he's also man enough to know when he does give bad advice, he corrects himself. Or he does something about it, you know what I mean? So I'd like to see him come back. I got no problem with it.
I actually was doing a podcast not too long ago, and they asked me about Vince, and my comment at that time was that I didn't think Vince should be fired. I thought that he should just come down the line a little bit, have somebody else make the final decisions, but Vince should have remained as a part of the creative process for WWE, because I do think that Vince was getting a little out of touch with what was happening currently, and that's easy to do. As you get older, you're not into the hip stuff. Even hips, probably people are laughing at the word hip right now, but I mean, we all grow up at different times, and so things kind of go away. Teddy, you're not as up to date on the current situation as just like me. My kids can talk about things and I look at them going, what the hell are they talking about?
Yeah, well, I kind of keep myself up to date with the slang and really what's going on, you know what I mean? But the reason why is because of, no telling, when I might have to go somewhere or do something, you know what I mean? I've never given up on myself. A lot of other people may have, but I still know that whatever I'm called to do, I can do that. I can still do the job, make no difference, how old I am or whatever it takes. But I ain't gonna even worry about that, because I'm enjoying my life now. I'm rested. I work on my own terms. I ain't ripping and running, and I'm stressed all out. When am I gonna make it here or make it there? It's a great pleasure to be at home every night, to sleep in your own bed. And I got my sidekick, Mr. Rufus. He's with me, so I'm happy, man. I'm happy.
Let's talk about The Undertaker. This is something that I want to kind of go into a little bit of detail about him and your connection with The Undertaker. The reason I want to do that is just recently he was at an event where other stars included Tony Hawk, Ludacris, and comedian Kevin Hart. I don't know what the event was. I guess it'll come out later and we'll all find out. But he was there, and you first met Mark Calloway, or Undertaker, back in WCW days, right?
Yes.
Can you tell me when you first met him, your first impression, and how did it come that you would be his manager?
Well, when I first met him, just I was just happy to be associated with him there. Big guy like that, and I'm
Oh
walking
yeah.
out and being able to manage him, and the way he looks, it's gonna, do make me look good too. But he was always a nice guy. He was always nice to me. Me and him always had great conversations, and whenever they traveled together or nothing like that. But when we got to the arenas, we got together, did what we did. He was a great guy to my wife. I remember one time I had my wife with me and we was in Greensboro, North Carolina. And I think Paul Heyman was managing him at the time. And that was during the time that I was gonna buy his contract. I believe I had him and Paul Heyman bought his contract and got him from me. But anyway, we pulled a rib on him or something, and we said to Paul said it was his birthday, and it wasn't his birthday. We started singing happy birthday and stuff. I thought it was his birthday too, and my wife did too, so we didn't know, but it was a big rib there we pulled on him. So, but Taker's always been a great guy. Then after he went, like I told you, the last time I'd seen him in WCW, me and him had a meeting with Jim Hurd. And Jim Hurd, I think, told him that Ole Anderson, which was doing the booking at that time, said he wouldn't draw a dime or he had red hair or some negative or something. But anyway, Taker left and went to New York, and then that's when I seen him again when I first, started in WWE, and I was just had to be there with him. And the next thing I know, me and him in one of the hottest angles in the world. There,
slow down. We're going to probably get to it. So hang on for just a minute for me. I don't want you to give away too much too quick, but I want to stay in WCW real quick with the Skyscrapers. Now, the Skyscrapers consisted of me, Mark Callis. You had Sid Vicious and Dangerous Dan Ivy, right?
Dan
Spivey, I'm sorry. Tell me, when you first met these three guys as a group, who had the most talent?
Well, there was a toss-up there between Taker and Spivey. These both were great workers in the ring, man, Spivey and Taker. Sid, not a bad worker, but he still, in my opinion, he had a lot to learn. I think he was more of a brute than he was a wrestler, speaking of Sid. But, he got the job done. And plus, the thing with Sid, he looked the part. So I think that, like I said, it's a toss-up between Spivey and Taker.
During that time with Dangerous Danny was Spivey, right? Okay, I keep saying Ivy because I know a Dangerous Dan Ivy. It's Dangerous Dan Spivey, though. What happened with him? Why didn't his career go a lot farther than it seemed like it just kind of disappeared almost?
Well, I don't really know because after I stopped managing them and started moving on to other things, you know what I mean? I didn't kind of keep up with what was going on because I didn't really have time. I had to concentrate on, what was happening with me then. So I don't know what happened with Spivey. I remember he left and he went to New York, and I think he was Waylon something. They gave him
Waylon Mercy, was that him?
Yeah, Waylon Mercy. I think he went there and he got that name, and I don't even think I got a chance to see him when I went to New York. I think he had already left, so I really don't know what happened with him.
Yeah, he seemed like he faded out of sight about as fast as he came in. He was gone.
Yeah.
Do you think, or do you and Mark stay in contact to this day?
Well, no, I haven't talked to him. I haven't talked to Mark in a while. Last time I think I talked to him, we was at a TV. And that's when I think I had some problems. And like I said, Mark was always a guy that was really close to Vince, and you could go to Mark and Mark could go to Vince and, kind of straighten your problems out. But no, I hadn't been able to talk to him at all. I was in Nashville with SummerSlam, and I heard he was at this comedy club or somewhere there. And somebody tried to get me to go over there, but I didn't, you know what I mean? I didn't want to look like, I'm hounding him or, so I didn't go.
So when you first came in the WWE, that was the first time you spoke with Mark, I guess, in years?
Yeah, that was the first time I spoke to him since he left WCW.
When was the first time you and Taker worked together in WWE?
I believe we started working together when we did the angle with CM Punk and where Taker was to kidnap me. That was the most major thing that I did some little minor things with him, but that was the most major angle that I got in, and that was with him kidnapping me, and they bringing me down in the coffin, and Punk opens up the coffin. Everybody thinks it's Taker, but it's not. It's me. But it was one of the most, greatest things I've ever had the opportunity to do.
When they came up with that idea for the kidnapping and then the limo and the smoke and him behind the wheel of the car, were there other ideas tossed around during that time that just didn't make it out that they had spoke about trying?
Well, I don't know. That would be between Vince and the writers. So I was never in the writers' room with doing none of that. So only thing I knew is when they brought it out. If it was written, Vince approved it, then that's what we were doing.
How did they do the smoke in there? Did they just put a fog machine inside that car? Is that how they did it?
Yeah, that's all they had. They just at the fog thing right down between the seats there.
Now, normally, I know you. I've known you for a long time. You're a one-take individual. Did you do that in one take?
One take.
I knew it. Let's see. We always heard backstage that Taker was the locker room leader. What does that actually mean to the guys in the back? What is a locker room leader?
Well, you want to follow in Taker's footstep. Always be a man and always remember that this is a business. You know what I mean? It's a time to laugh and joke, and it's a time to get serious. And Taker was somebody, too, that if you had a problem with your match or something, you could always go to him and talk to him and ask him, what you did wrong or what should I have done. And he was like the overseer. If the guys got into arguments or there was some, something going on wrong, Taker would always step in and, keep, straighten things out and keep the locker room happy.
He was basically the dad in the back.
Yeah.
I mean, he was like the last step before you had to go see Vince or somebody else, it sounds like.
Well, he was the judge.
In more ways than one. Let's see. JBL claims that during the time you were working with Undertaker, that he was mistreated and abused by you. Because you would make him go one-on-one with The Undertaker. Can you tell me some of the best moments with you and JBL and The Undertaker? Because I remember, and I think I've told you this before, when you would come out and do that, he was my favorite one that you would tell that to because his expressions were priceless.
Yeah. Well, I just always had a great time. Me and JBL, we always, got along great, man. Had some great moments with him about when I was riding with him and Ron. And the time, I guess a lot of people heard the story about I drove off and left Ron in the snow.
Oh, God, yes. Tell that story again for those who have not heard.
Well, we'd worked Syracuse, New York that night, and we was on our way to Albany, New York. So we had to drive. So it's snowing. So, we get a case of beer, for the ride. So
and it's snowing hard, by the way. It's snowing very, very hard.
Oh, yeah, brother. With the speed, we're down to maybe 50 miles an hour. That's how bad it's snowing. So everybody's drinking a beer. So, once you start drinking beers, there's the next call is a piss call. Yep. So we're snowing, we can't find nothing open. So I pull over to the side of the road right there. So every Godfather, he was in there with us too. So everybody got out. I think I was the first one. Everybody got out, took a piss. So I got back in, sitting in the driver's seat there. So I'm just waiting on everybody to get back in. So I ain't really paying attention. So mostly I saw some of the guys get back in. I didn't really look around. So next thing I knew, I thought everybody was in. So I pulled off. Next thing I know, JBL's looking at me. What the hell are you doing? I said, what? We leaving. You idiot. You left Ron standing back in the snow. So Ron never get in the car. So now I'm almost about a mile down the road. So what I got to do now, I got to get back on the median on the side, and I got to bag all the way back up a mile almost to pick up Ron.
In heavy snow.
In heavy snow, and finally, when I did get to him, he was a snowman. He was covered in snow, and this was before he ever started saying "damn" on TV. When I opened the door and I look at him, he looks in at me and he just looks at me. He said, "Damn, Long," and I said, "That's when the damn started."
Some crazy stuff, man. What were we talking about before that to get you there? But
we were just talking about,
how you abused JBL. Yeah, let me go back. Now, JBL, when he told you forgot Ron, did he wait a moment before he told you, just so you'd pull off?
No, he was just looking at me because he couldn't believe that I was driving away. So he was just looking at me, yelling at me.
What is Godfather doing?
Godfather, well, he's got a fatty, so he ain't do. He's
his
coming
own
in,
world.
he's chiming in every once in a while. You know what I mean?
Who was your favorite target to be placed in a match with Undertaker? Was it JBL?
Oh, yeah. Oh, God, I couldn't wait to give that to him. And like you said, it was his expressions, the way he sold it, really got it over, because he'd come in and we're laughing and we're just talking and having each other a nice time. And I tell him, well, I done gave you the good news. Now I'm going to give you some bad news. And his whole expression changes. And so, yeah, it was good putting him in there with Taker. I'll tell you another one, Booker T. He's another one that sold it real good. When I put him and Sharmell, I put him with Taker. He was doing this English accent. He changed the whole accent, went right back to being Booker T.
You've been quoted as saying that Undertaker has given you a lot of advice over the years and that he was one of the nicest people you ever came across.
Yeah.
You also said that he was among the most influential people in your career. What advice did he give you?
Well, he just gave me advice, how to, conduct myself. You know what I mean? How to, keep your mouth shut and keep your ears open. You know what I mean? And sometimes, even if you got something to say, sometimes it might not be the time to say it. In this business, there's a time for everything. And you have to learn that, because sometimes you can say something, it might mean something, but then you may say it out of context. You know what I mean? Might not be the right time. So Taker learned me, the ins and outs, and just how to, like I said, conduct myself and be a man. And he also learned me how to, stay on Vince's good side. I remember he told me one night we was in we was doing that the angle where he kidnapped me.
Yep.
And me and him did this promo, and so what Vince did, he went off script on me. So he started talking about something that wasn't even written. So now we're live, so I can't, now I got to catch up with him because I see what he just done to me. So I think he asked me something about that I like being there or something. I can't remember the question, but anyway, I remember saying to him, "I work for you, sir." And he never did say nothing back to me. He just walked away. So that later on that night, Taker saw me. He said, "You're the only person that ever stumped him. He didn't have nothing to say. That's why he walked away." He said, "You stumped him."
Oh, that's cool. That's cool.
Taker told me that. So, that made me feel good too, you know what I mean? But see, like I said, when you hear stuff like that, don't let that go to your head. Just keep that to yourself and thank God and keep doing the right thing.
After you didn't get the invite to Undertaker's Hall of Fame induction, did you ever hear from Taker or anyone at WWE as to why you weren't included?
No, I didn't.
Not even a simple phone call from anyone, huh?
No.
That would, I've said this before and I'll say it again. I really expected that you would have been a part of that Hall of Fame. I mean, to me, you are a part of what is the mystique of The Undertaker.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you know what I mean? That maybe that's why I wasn't there.
When was the last time that you and Taker have actually spoken to one another? Has it been recently at all?
No, it hadn't been recently at all. It's been quite a while.
Taker was always a mystery man. I think we said this on another podcast. He and Vince were very similar. You didn't hear much about either one of them, especially their real life. It was always a kind of a dark mystery. It's just, what it was. Being a mystery man, were y'all told certain protocols when it came to Undertaker about how to approach his life or anything? Were you told don't discuss his personal life?
No, I was never told anything like that.
So everybody basically was just doing their own thing, protecting his character without being told to do so, huh?
Right. Well, your common sense will let you, you got to know. We was also told, when Taker comes, you ain't got to be running like a hyena and that, you know what I mean? But you back off, you know what I mean? Hey, this is Undertaker, the same thing with Kane. You know what I mean? You ain't got to be acting a fool, but back off. What would you do if it was a real monster like that coming at you? So, protect the gimmick. That's like I said, a lot of guys were told that. Taker had to tell some guys that. Kane had to tell some guys that. Don't come up on me. You know what I mean? So, because a lot of the young talent didn't know. So, a lot of them that didn't know, we told them.
Who is the real man behind Undertaker, Teddy? Who is Mark Calloway? I mean, in real life, who is this guy?
Just one of the nicest, like I've always said, one of the nicest guys that you could ever want to meet. To me, I kind of watched, him, when he started out in Texas, and then from there to Memphis, it's one guy that really put in his time, paid his dues, and really went through the struggle, to get where he is today. And, to be, denied by some promoters in wrestling saying that he would never be nothing or never draw a dime, that's just a shame. So I'm just glad he was able to go to WWE and get with Vince and show them all, prove them all wrong that, he was somebody. And so, that was just great for me. And like I said, just a real super nice guy, man. You couldn't have a better friend.
Do you think there will ever be another character like The Undertaker?
No, I don't.
I don't either. I want to go back to one thing real quick. We talked about this on another program, but when he lost the streak at WrestleMania, and I want you to look at this as a fan, not as somebody who works, for WWE or used to work for WWE, but just as a fan. When he lost that night, what was your initial feeling?
Well, to me, it didn't bother me. I understand what this is. This is business, But
now as a fan, not as a business. Don't look at it as a business, but as a fan.
It's kind of hard for me to look at it as a fan. I've been in this over 30-something years, Mac. So I can't see it that way because fans, they're different. One fan will feel one way and another fan will feel another way. But I think the majority of the fans was really shocked and was really hurt, you know what I mean? Yes. Because they probably didn't ever want to see that. They wanted him to take that streak to the grave. But I think the only reason that happened, I'm not sure. I think he was hurt. And he got injured during the match, and I think he just said call for Brock to go ahead and pin him. So I don't know, but that's the rumor that I heard. But like I said, I just didn't look at it like that. If somebody loses, then hey, it's time. That's what it was called to be that night. So I took it as another night on the job.
It was stunning. That's for sure. I was stunned. Yeah. I remember looking at the TV. I was reacting the same way the fans were on TV, just shocked. Like, what the hell did just happen here? I even wondered, did something just go wrong? What happened? Yeah. It was really unusual.
Well, it was just Taker doing business. You know what I mean? He didn't have to do it that way. They could have just called for the bell. You know what I mean? So there's just now you understand what I mean. What a nice guy.
Yes. Teddy, anything you need to talk about before we break away here?
No, I just want to wish everybody happy holidays, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. Hope everybody stays safe. And, if you're going to be out and about, you know what I mean? Just, keep yourself safe. If it's somewhere you need to have a mask on, put it on because they're talking about how pneumonia and the COVID is spreading all over again. So we just have to be careful out here, man. So everybody be safe and have happy holidays. And don't forget to subscribe to the one-on-one and also to After Hours road trip. You can look right down at the bottom of the screen. That'll tell you how to subscribe to us. And y'all just keep the numbers coming. And during the beginning of the next year, Mac and I are going to have a lot of great surprises and gifts. We're going to show our appreciation to you guys for subscribing.
Absolutely. And folks, don't forget, Sportskeeda is called Wrestle Binge on YouTube. Wrestle Binge by Sportskeeda. That's where you'll find us. And also across all podcast platforms, you'll be able to catch this show. One-on-one with Mac Davis and WWE Hall of Famer Teddy Long.
Holla, player.